Army's scream was swallowed by the explosion. Flames erupted around her, concrete cracking beneath her feet, metal beams collapsing like giant knives. She crawled across the scorched floor of the factory, smoke burning her lungs, hands blistering, eyes stinging. Every step was a gamble. A shadow lunged from the chaos, catching her before the next beam could crush her. Strong arms hoisted her to safety, pulling her through falling debris. She clutched at the figure, terrified and exhausted. "Hold on," a deep voice ordered, steady and urgent. "I've got you, don't fight it." She barely recognized him through the haze. Ji-Hwan CEO, quiet, formidable, the eldest son of the CEO conglomerate. Even at 9, he moved like he owned the chaos. "Where?" she gasped. "Where's my mother?" He didn't answer, he didn't need to. The fire roared and every second counted. He darted past burning crates over twisted metal and Army clung tighter, her small body pressed against his. The world narrowed to his presence, firm, terrifying and yet safe. "You're going to make it," he promised. "I won't let you die here." Hours later, when the chaos finally settled, she was drenched in soot and blood, shivering but alive. Chairwoman Hana Seo stood over her in the mansion's guest wing, expression unreadable. "From this moment," she whispered, brushing Army's curls back from her face, "you are not a charity, you are part of this family. Destiny chose you." Destiny felt heavy. Army didn't understand why she was spared when her mother was gone. Only Ji-Hwan seemed to know. He watched her quietly, eyes calculating as if measuring every breath she took. The mansion was cold, distant, the staff polite but distant, the cousins curious and judgmental. Seojin Seo, Ji-Hwan's illegitimate half-brother, made no effort to hide his disdain. "You don't belong here," he sneered, voice dripping with venom. "You're a distraction, a mistake." Army learned to navigate the household like walking a tightrope. She ignored whispers and glares, finding solace only in Ji-Hwan's presence. His protection was absolute but unspoken. Even when he left for years of military and corporate training abroad, the mansion felt empty, hollow, and she missed the weight of his attention more than she wanted to admit. By the time Army turned 20, she had grown into a woman of presence and strength, yet the shadow of her mother's death haunted her. When Lydia Kimura appeared, sleek, calculating and ruthless, Army's pulse quickened. "Help Ji-Hwan win the Han River Restoration Project," Lydia said, eyes sharp and unblinking, "and I'll give you the real report on what killed your mother." Army's throat tightened. The police report had lied. Her mother's death had been no accident. Despite the danger, despite the cost, Army nodded. She needed the truth. Ji-Hwan's return to Seoul after years abroad changed everything. He was sharper, colder, more dangerous. His gaze lingered on Army longer than necessary, measuring, assessing. He didn't smile, didn't joke. He merely moved through the mansion like a storm restrained. "You've grown," he said, voice low and steady. "Not enough to be safe, but enough to be noticed." Army's pulse spiked. "I can handle myself," she said, trying to mask the nervous thrill in her chest. "You've always needed protection," he replied, and something unspoken lingered between them, a tension that was impossible to ignore. Her fragile peace shattered the night Minseok Park, her warm-hearted boyfriend and cousin, led her into a trap. 3 masked men cornered them, shadows moving with lethal precision. Army instinctively threw herself in front of Minseok. A knife slashed across her side, tearing flesh, blood painting the slick alleyway. Minseok panicked. He fled, leaving her crumpled in pain, gasping, betrayal slicing as sharply as the blade. Then Ji-Hwan arrived. He fought with terrifying efficiency, limbs ablur, striking with precision and fury, disarming attackers with a controlled ferocity that made Army's heart thud against her ribs. He dropped to his knees beside her, eyes wide with terror and anger. "You're alive," he whispered, voice trembling. "I told you I wouldn't let anything happen to you." In the mansion's private medical wing, Army recovered, but Ji-Hwan never left her side. His protective gaze never faltered. Seojin's taunts echoed through the halls, cruel and venomous, yet Army barely noticed. She was consumed by the fear, the intensity, and the quiet obsession in Ji-Hwan's attention. Restless nights led her to explore the mansion's hidden corners. Behind the wine room, she found a secret elevator, its metal doors humming softly as she pressed the button. The descent revealed a narrow corridor, littered with monitors, papers, and maps. At its center, a burnt folder bore her mother's name. Her fingers shook as she opened it, revealing the original forensic file. The report was damning: deliberate fire, explosives, silenced witnesses. Her mother's death had been orchestrated. Army's chest tightened, the realization hit like a punch. Someone in the Seo family had wanted her mother gone. Footsteps echoed. Army spun, heart pounding, aware that danger was closer than she imagined. Someone was coming, someone who wanted the truth buried as much as her mother had been silenced. Even as fear clawed at her, a strange clarity settled in her. She wasn't a child anymore, and the man who had saved her from flames years ago was standing nearby, always watching, always waiting, always impossible to ignore. Army woke to the sterile smell of antiseptic and the faint hum of machines. Pain lanced through her side where the knife had cut deep, but even more pressing was the weight of betrayal. Min-seok had abandoned her in the alley, her fingers curled around the blanket, trembling. Ji-Hwan didn't move from the chair beside her bed. His eyes never left her, dark and unreadable. She wanted to snap at him to demand space, but the intensity of his gaze pinned her in place. "Why are you here?" she asked, voice hoarse. "Because no one else would," he replied, voice low, controlled. "Because you shouldn't be alone." She glared at him. "I survived, didn't I? I don't need you hovering like some shadow." "Don't tempt me," he said softly, almost a growl. "One more step out of line and I'll make sure you don't leave this room until I know you're safe." Army's heart raced, a mix of irritation and something else she couldn't name. "You can't cage me," she said, and she meant it. Every instinct screamed to rebel, to prove she was no longer the little girl he had carried from a burning factory. He stood then, moving closer. "I don't need to cage you, I need to keep you alive, and right now that means staying close." The tension between them crackled in the room, unspoken and undeniable. Army wanted to argue, to push him away. But a part of her, the scared child still buried under years of survival, wanted nothing more than to lean into his protection. Days passed in a blur of recovery, meals she barely touched, and Ji-Hwan watching her, silently orchestrating the household so she wouldn't be bothered. The staff whispered constantly, speculating about the intensity of his attention. Seojin sneered openly whenever he caught sight of her in the corridors. "Do you really think he's doing this for you? You're just a pawn," Seojin spat one afternoon. Army clenched her fists but didn't answer. She had learned over the years that Seojin thrived on her reaction. Her silence was weapon enough. Late one night, unable to sleep, she walked the mansion's halls, mind spinning with anger and questions. Her steps carried her to the wine room, where she remembered the hidden elevator she had glimpsed weeks ago. Pressing her hand to the polished rack, she felt it slide open, revealing the narrow lift. Her pulse quickened. She descended cautiously. At the bottom, a dim corridor stretched ahead, lined with monitors, scattered files, and maps. The faint hum of electronics filled the silence. At the far end, a single folder bore her mother's name. Hands shaking, she opened it. Explosives, tampered systems, silenced witnesses. Someone in the Seo family had orchestrated the factory explosion. Her stomach churned, the betrayal cut deeper than the knife ever had. Her mother's death had been deliberate. Someone had wanted her gone. Footsteps approached. She spun, heart pounding. Ji-Hwan emerged from the shadows, expression unreadable. "You shouldn't have come down here alone," he said, voice low, dangerous. "I'm not a child," Army said, her voice firm despite the tremor inside. "I can handle myself." "You're not a child," Ji-Hwan admitted, taking a step closer. "But you're not safe, not here, not anywhere near them." His eyes darkened. "I've already lost too much to people who think they can touch you." Army's chest tightened. "Then help me, don't make decisions for me." He studied her for a long moment, then he nodded, almost imperceptibly. "Fine, but from now on we face them together, and you do exactly what I say." Army nodded, heart pounding, realizing something terrifying and thrilling. She wasn't the same girl who had fled a burning factory. And Ji-Hwan wasn't the same boy who had carried her to safety. Both of them had changed, and the line between protector and lover was razor-thin. The clock read 3:11 a.m. when the first shadow slipped past the mansion gates. Army had been restless, reviewing the documents she'd found in Seojin's hidden office, piecing together the truth about her mother. A faint metallic click echoed in the hall outside her room. She froze, heart hammering. Ji-Hwan appeared instantly, as if summoned by instinct, gun in hand, eyes dark pools of controlled fury. "Stay behind me," he ordered, voice low, dangerous. His presence alone made the intruders hesitate, but he didn't wait. He moved forward, silent and lethal. The mercenaries hit with brutal precision, breaking through doors and shattering glass. Army's instinct was to run, but she couldn't. She had seen the evidence of her mother's murder. She had to act. Ji-Hwan fought like a storm unleashed. Each strike was calculated, every movement a blur of deadly efficiency. He shouted her name once, twice, urging her to stay back. But when one of Seojin's men lunged at her with a knife, she acted on pure adrenaline. She grabbed a shard of broken glass from the shattered frame, slashing at his arm, drawing blood. Ji-Hwan glanced at her, eyes widening for the briefest instant, then returned to the fight. "You're supposed to stay safe," he yelled, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I'm not a child," Army yelled back, voice echoing sharp with rage. "I can fight too." A gunshot rang out. Ji-Hwan screamed, a sound that tore through Army's chest as he stumbled, clutching his shoulder. She rushed to his side, ignoring the pain in her own body, and pressed against him, pushing him behind a toppled table. "You're bleeding," she shouted, panic spiking. "Don't you dare leave me here." He gave her a fierce, pained look. "I'm still alive, focus, take them down." Army's hands shook as she slashed again, cutting a path for security and police who had been alerted by silent alarms. Each strike was fueled by years of anger, betrayal, and fear. She wasn't the girl who had run from a factory explosion anymore. She was a woman capable of facing death head-on. One mercenary tried to flank her, and she swung the shard with precision born of desperation. The man stumbled, giving Ji-Hwan the opening to fire, hitting another attacker with terrifying accuracy. Chaos raged around them, but they moved as one, silent, lethal, unrelenting. Finally, sirens screamed through the mansion gates. Reinforcements arrived. Police stormed in, subduing the remaining mercenaries. Seojin Sia was cornered, his expression a mix of disbelief and rage as officers cuffed him. Lydia Kimura, however, slipped away in the confusion, vanishing into the night. Ji-Hwan sank to his knees, blood seeping through his clothes. Army fell beside him, hands pressing against the wound as tears blurred her vision. "You idiot," she whispered, voice breaking. "You could have died." He grabbed her wrist, eyes locking onto hers with a mix of fury, fear, and something else, raw, unfiltered emotion. "Not without you," he said hoarsely. "You're mine, I chose you. I'd burn this whole dynasty before I lose you." Army's chest tightened, heart racing. She realized in that instant that everything she had feared losing, her life, her family, her truth, had always been intertwined with him. She pressed her forehead to his, voice trembling. "I'm yours too. I've never wanted anything more than to be here with you." Hours later, as paramedics tended to Ji-Hwan, Army stood with chairwoman Hana Seo. "Your mother was brave," Hana said softly. "And so are you. You survived, you fought, and you exposed them all. Seojin, Lydia, the network is broken because of you." Army swallowed, the weight of years of fear and betrayal pressing down on her. "It's not enough," she said quietly. "I want answers, I want justice." Hana smiled faintly. "And you will have it. But remember this, you're not a pawn, you never were. You're part of this family because you belong here, because you fought for it." Later, in the quiet of the aftermath, Army and Ji-Hwan sat side by side in the study, bandages wrapped, bruises forming, hearts still pounding. Silence hung between them, thick and charged. Finally, Ji-Hwan spoke, voice low, rough with emotion. "You're not here because my family saved you," he said, eyes dark and intense. "I kept you, I chose you. Everything I've done, every risk, every fight, it's all because of you. And I would destroy this entire dynasty before letting you go." Army's lips trembled as tears spilled over. "And I choose you," she whispered. "All of it, you, this, us, I belong here with you." He pulled her close, hands rough but gentle, pressing a forehead to hers. "No boundaries," he murmured. "None, ever, you're mine and I'm yours." The mansion was quiet, safe for the first time in decades. Outside, the night had passed, leaving only the first hints of dawn. Army looked around at the remnants of chaos, the shattered glass, toppled furniture, and the lingering smell of gunpowder, and realized that out of fire and betrayal, a new legacy had been born. Her legacy, their legacy. Ji-Hwan's hand tightened around hers. "We rebuild," he said softly, voice steadier now, eyes focused on her. "Together, nothing will take you from me again." Army leaned into him, letting exhaustion and relief wash over her. "Together," she echoed. "Always." Their eyes met, a silent promise burning brighter than any danger, any betrayal, or any past pain. At that moment, Army knew she had not only uncovered the truth about her mother, but she had claimed her own future, and her place beside the man who had always protected her. If this story shook you, prove it. Like, comment, subscribe. More dangerous love stories are coming, and you don't want to miss a single twist.